Hello, salam, shalom, namaste, sasrikal, aloha, hola, ciao, bonjour, puna, and privyat. It's really, really awesome to be with you again, and I am really happy today. Well, for many reasons. One of them is that we have an awesome guest for our show today, and it's Jane Lorenz, who's a book publisher and business strategist. Welcome, Jane.
Welcome, ciao, buongiorno, Samia. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. And I will ask you to jump right in by telling us more about who you are and what you do.
Well, first, I have to tell you, I got all sorts of chills just listening to you with your opening introduction with all those languages. That is so beautiful, and it just makes you aware that the world is getting smaller every day, and there's so many things to be grateful for that we're all able to connect and hopefully inspire each other and learn from each other. So thank you again for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, I started my publishing company after working as an empowerment coach, using my intuitive gifts and abilities, just, sharing my life story, really, how I overcame uh, just really a devastating illness. I had been diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, and I just was unable to function, much less hold down my job. So, it was a long road, but thankfully I was able to go into remission, and it's basically gone at this point. And yeah, so, pain-free, pill-free, all of it. And I'm really, really, yeah, thank you. I'm really one of the lucky ones. I'm so blessed. And and I found myself in this space where it's like, okay, I got my old life back, and it's a great life, so blessed with my husband and our two beautiful, healthy children, but there was that part of me that just wanted more.
Mm.
And I tried to go back to just working and doing my thing. And it just like, there was just that nagging voice, like, I want more, there's more. And then, luckily the economy burst, the real estate bubble just exploded back in '07, '08. And so I found myself without a job again. And, all that stress was just causing me to have flare-ups, even more. So I found myself going back on that merry-go-round, on that hamster wheel that I had fought so hard to get off of. And I was like, no, 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 no. There's got to be another way. There has to be something else. And I just happened to get an invitation somehow in my email to listen to this energy healer on a telesummit, which was like, pre-podcast days, right? And I just was intrigued. And, I say all the time, telesummits changed my life. It opened up a whole new world that I didn't even know existed. And I found ways to shift my energy, shift my mindset, my thoughts and beliefs. And, just the every day, day after day, things just started to get a little bit better than the day before. And yeah, so that's what, I ended up hosting summits myself. And then, like I said, I got into quote empowerment coaching. And then women started asking me, how do how did you get started in your business? I want to do what you do. So then that led to that. And then I was invited to participate in a group book, to contribute a chapter in a best-selling anthology. And I had a thought, like, one day I'd like to do that too, bring together my own group of women sharing our stories of transformation and empowerment. And so a few years later, I was connected with a woman that at the time, I just thought she'd help me bring that dream to life. And instead, during the phone call, she says to me, well, how about this? How about instead of just, putting together a book for you, why don't I just coach you, teach you everything I've learned over the last 2 decades, and get you set up with your own publishing house. And I was just like, wait, what? How did, you know? And like an idiot, I said yes.
Oh my gosh.
Just didn't
No,
even
you're
think. I just said,
brilliant.
okay. Yeah. Yeah. It reminds me of that movie Legally Blonde. Like, you got into Harvard, and she's like, why is that hard? It's like, who, when I think about it, like, who do you think you are? But here I am. So you just got to say yes. You just have to say yes when the inspiration
Mm.
strikes, when your body just lights up at, whatever the proposition is. It's up to you to really to jump and say yes. And I
Oh,
did. And here we are.
yes. I think what you just said right now made so much sense to me about, we hear propositions all the time. We are given so many different offers to do this, to do that. But the ones that light you up, those are the ones to really go for, even if it doesn't make sense in the moment. Like for you, you're like, what? I've never published a book yet, ever. So how am I going to do this? But it hit home for you in some way, in a deeper way. Your heart knew that this was the way forward. Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. They say when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And I remember there was a while there that I would be like, yeah, I wasn't even thinking about books or publishing at the moment, but just in general, like, who's my next coach? Like, how do I, bring my business to the next level, kind of thing. And I was logically looking for my next teacher instead of becoming that version of me that would call her or him in.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been really interesting, the journey so far.
That's really, really amazing. Tell me more about your book publishing company, your methodology, like what sets you apart from other book publishers or traditional book publishers. Hey, thanks for tuning into this episode. Hope you're getting value out of it. For your information, this episode has been sponsored by the Happiness 101 program. Are you a change maker, coach, trainer, or healer? Are chains of fear holding you back from making the impact and income you desire? Using a unique combination of positive psychology and the spiritual wisdom of our most effective change makers, the Happiness 101 program helps you break through your limiting beliefs and manifest the abundance and success you desire with fun and ease. Interested? Book a free Happiness 101 exploration call with me, your happiness expert, Samia Bano. Just use my online calendar link in the show notes. Now, back to the show.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much. Well, as an independent publisher, I'm pretty much a combination of a traditional and self-publishing aspect of the industry. So in the sense that we do the heavy lifting for you, as opposed to self-publishing, having to figure out everything on your own. And then the difference with, between us and the traditional publishing companies is that you don't need a literary agent. You don't have to submit a book proposal, and you don't have to face that fear of rejection, which the majority of aspiring authors do. We're able to just, skip to the head of the line, and we create a really, not only a shelf-worthy book, but a viable book, meaning, it packs a punch. It has a message in it. It's not just a fluff piece that we glorify, which, unfortunately, a lot of other independent publishers do that as well, right? So, but I take pride in what we do. And I like to say that we're more like a publishing boutique because we create unique, one of a kind books and experiences, because I do believe that every book is as unique as its author. So no cookie cutters, we follow a formula, we follow a bit of a structure, but yeah, every author is different. So I have some authors that want to write a book to memorialize their life story. That's really, and I find that a lot in women that are older, in their 50s and 60s. It's a dream that they've had their whole lives, and so faced with their mortality, it's like racing the clock kind of thing. And but then there are other women in their 30s and 40s that, they have a story to tell so far. They don't want to wait until, they're older to then share the whole thing at once. So it's the difference between an autobiography and a memoir. The autobiography is your whole life story, whereas a memoir is like a moment in time, like a snapshot, right? And then there are some women that want to use their book and leverage it in their business, which is basically my niche these days, And so using your book as that marketing masterpiece, if you will, and just using that as an alternative to a business card, like in the old days, or a website, like who wants to go sit and read someone's website? But a book, it gives you that credibility and that authority,
Mm.
right? It's just it's prestigious. It's withstood the test of time. And to me, it it means you mean business.
Mm. Indeed, indeed. Again, you made so many excellent points. And I'm just thinking about how so many coaches and trainers and healers that I've been interviewing for this podcast over the last year or
Yeah.
so. I mean, we all have websites. It's like we're still in a place in our culture where you're expected to have a website, but people don't really pay attention to websites anymore. And
Exactly.
yeah, and most of my coaches and all, they say, oh, please make sure to share my Instagram handle or my Facebook, page or whatever, because people are way more engaged with people in those kinds of other platforms.
Yes, exactly. And at the same time, don't send me to Instagram because you
Yeah.
won't see me for a couple of hours. Like I just get sucked into that vortex, just watching people's
Yeah.
videos. And it's just, yeah, it's, the thing with books is that I remember, years ago going to live events with a
Yeah.
lot of other speakers and coaches,
Yeah.
right? And I remember at this one event, there were like over 500 people there, and they had vendors, like at least 50 vendors there. And I met so many wonderful women that I still see from time to time on Facebook, depending on what the algorithm is doing. But there's this one woman that I will always remember because I have her book on my shelf. All the other ones with their, business card or their brochure, their glossy postcard, or, their links and this and that, it, it's gone. I've never thrown out a book. Like I just, there's something just, I don't want to say sacred, but it's just so special. A book is just so special.
Yeah, for sure. I
Hmm.
I share that feeling with you. Like I have a very, very hard time. Like I don't think I've ever felt right trashing a book. I mean, for years I wouldn't even give any of my books away.
Me too. Me
But
too. Yeah.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
like not unfortunately, it's like my family has had to move around
Oh,
for good
yeah.
reasons. But
Oh,
every time
good,
we
good.
made an international move, one of the sad things that I had to do was part with so many of my books because in the context of an international move, it just wasn't possible to take all my books with
Yes.
me.
Yes.
Oh, and
Yes.
there's still books I miss so much that I
I
had in my
know.
library in India and
Mm.
Pakistan, and oh
Yes.
gosh.
Mm. I know what you mean. You know, when we moved back to New York after living in Florida for 13 years, we scaled down a lot, you know, especially because my by that time my furniture had just gotten to be so old, and the
Yeah.
thought of paying thousands of dollars to, you know, so yeah, we just brought with us the bare minimum, and I have boxes of books, the classics, you know, like some of them that are just like, no, they're coming with me, like my jewelry. Not even my kids or the cats, like, yeah, yeah, I can come back for them, but yeah, so, you know, for 2 years we were unable to go to Florida to visit my parents because of, you know, the pandemic and everything. And I swear to you, Samia, around November, December, I was so giddy about the thought of going back to my parents' house and opening up those book boxes. Like, I fantasized about it. I was more excited about seeing my books than I was seeing my family.
Well, you've been in touch with your family, if not
Yeah,
in person,
true,
person
true.
over the phone, online.
Right,
But
right.
the books, we haven't had a chance
Ah,
to touch
my
them,
book.
smell them,
Yes.
read them. Uh,
Yeah.
read. Oh,
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And the few books that, like you said, you know, regret giving away, because I mean, I just love them so much. Like Eat, Pray, Love. I just love that book so much. I gave it to my neighbor and she never gave it back. And it just, like, there was like a hole in my personal library, like energetically. I was just like,
yes.
oh, I bought it again. I mean, I didn't read it again, but it's there. I mean, it's right there. I could see it. Like
Yeah.
yeah. And that's
I
one of the
have
ones
done
that
that.
made the move.
Oh, yes. I've done
Yeah.
that too. I actually eventually started keeping like records like a library because I was like, I keep losing my books in the sense that I would share them with people and then they would not be returned. And I'd literally feel that whole,
Yes.
like I'm missing my book. And so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
actually have bought second copies, just to fill in my library again. And these days, I've been really enjoying more and more just getting e-books because I'm like, okay, I can take these with me wherever I go.
Yes, 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 it's true. And I'm very selective about the books. Like, I have to really, really want to read that book in order to get it as an ebook, because
Uh,
it's that impulse buy, you know, like I can't wait
ah,
2 days on Prime, like I need it now, you know. And then, and curiously enough, I do end up getting the paperback as well. Because I just love holding a book, you know.
yes. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's such an excellent point. That's such an excellent point. It's like, do you see that in the industry there's any kind of a trend in terms of where things are moving? Are physical books still like a thing? Is it still important to publish a physical book, or is 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 the industry just moving more towards just having ebooks? Like what's going on there?
Yeah, I still see both, you know, and so I would say it's about the same. I think it's just having the ebook is just an additional, but I
Mm,
think for the most part, it's, you know, the ones that are you know, standalone ebooks, I don't think they're as impactful
uh,
over the long term. You know, they don't have that longevity, you know, that
interesting.
I've seen a lot of other books. Yeah.
Yeah, and what about like like for people who want to use their book as part of their branding for their business, if you just have a standalone ebook, how's that from a branding perspective, from a marketing strategy perspective?
It's fantastic because, and we publish both. So we do done for you with a physical book and an ebook that's available on a Kindle app. And then we also do full color, and we also do hardcover as well, right? So as far as using your book in your business, I think for me, it's like a beautiful manual, right? It's it's a way of connecting with someone. So like I'll be talking to people and be like, oh, that reminds me of Alex's story in the group book that I published. Like go read that chapter. Like, and I'll just send them the whole PDF of, you know, the entire book.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times say, and you know, if you want the hard copy, then you know, let me know and I'll send that to you as well. Um, but yeah, it's very, excuse me, it's very beneficial because like I said, it in an ebook, you're able to include links as well. So then you have live links that they could just click through and it takes you right to wherever you happen to be hosting those links. So preferably a website or some kind of landing page. So it's just so much fun. Like it's so different than when you and I were growing up reading books. It's like we only had like paper books and
Yes.
right, right. And there's books that have pictures in them, and I refuse to get the ebook because I want to look at the pictures. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
Interesting though that you mentioned ebooks and pictures because I recently had the experience of getting an ebook that actually had moving pictures in it, which
Ooh.
was like really, really cool. It was a Harry Potter related book.
Oh,
So you
nice.
understand why the moving pictures make sense.
Oh,
But
that's fantastic.
yes, so I'm really starting to appreciate ebooks very, very much. And I see your point about having a physical book too, because for sure there's something irre irreplaceable
Yeah.
about a physical book. And
Mm.
I think also sometimes just from a branding perspective, like I know when I wrote my book, I have a ebook version of it on Kindle and PDF version available at other places as well. But until I felt myself holding the physical copy of my
Mm.
physical book,
Yeah.
for some reason there was like this, um, I don't know, maybe it's just the kind of person that I am that grew up loving to
Yeah.
read
Yeah.
physical books, but there's just something not real about being an author until I was holding the physical book. And
Yes. Yes.
and I think
Mm.
in general also there is that perception maybe like if you're thinking now from a branding perspective there, if you have a physical paper book that you can like hold in your hand, like when you walk up on stage, for example, or if you have a booth that you have set up, and
Yes.
you have your
Yeah.
physical book there printed out, it just leaves
Yes. Yes.
a greater impression.
Yeah, yeah, it leads a greater air
Yeah.
of you know, I guess accomplishment or authority, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah.
And yeah, and you know, and regardless what book I'm reading, maybe it's just something about me, but I'm able to have like a recall. I'm able to have like a photographic memory kind of thing happen where I'll read something that's so powerful and impactful. You know, I remember reading Pillars of the Earth, right? Like that book just took my breath away on so many levels. I mean, oh God, that's like one of my favorite books ever. And I remember like reading and like, and looking up and like finding myself like, oh, I'm in this room and I
Yeah.
can still recall that moment where I was when I read that part of that book.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
so powerful. I think the physical book for me, it creates an even more intimate
Mm,
connection.
mm.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
gosh. Okay, well, I can keep talking with you on
I
this
know.
for a long time. We're
I love
clearly both book lovers, which I absolutely love.
it.
And I love that, you went
Yes.
into book publishing with this love. That is just so amazing. Um, but just to keep the conversation
Yes, yes.
forward, uh, can you talk a little bit about like maybe what are one or two of the top challenges that you help your clients through in the context of publishing their books, and then we can talk about what you do to help them solve those problems.
Oh, I'd love to. Thank you. Yeah. So basically the main thing is I help them finish their book, right? Like help them get it ready to go to print and publish, right? So I've worked with all kinds of authors at different stages of their writing process. So the first is like, helping someone organize all their thoughts, all their notes, all their notebooks over the years, and just to just kind of organize it in some way that gives them a jumping off point to keep going. So from that point, we like to put together a rough table of contents, right? So of course the table of contents, you can always rearrange all the, chapters in whatever order needs to be. But for example, I had one client recently that she had all these notes, but all handwritten. So the first step was for her to type them into a Word doc. And then from there, we've been editing it together. And it's crazy because, when she finally transcribed all her notes into a Word doc, she's only up to like maybe page 36. So she's got a bit of a way to go. But the thing is, now that she got that part out of her system, so to speak, it's opened up her creativity on so many other levels that she's just banging out the chapters now, so that's one aspect of what I help my authors with. And then the next part, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yes. I just had a quick question that was coming to
Sure.
my mind. So for people, is it just like a personality thing in terms of some people would write by hand and then get it transcribed later, but some people might want to just type things in. Is it like just a personal choice preference, or is there like, have you found an actual difference in the quality of the writing, the experience of the writing, whether you do it on the computer or handwritten?
Yeah, the majority of the women that I've worked with have all started out handwriting, journaling, daydreaming, just, writing down ideas and thoughts that pop into their heads, and then it just grew from there. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Cool, cool. I was
yeah, yeah.
actually asking if you had any experience or thoughts in that, because I actually remember reading some research that when you handwrite something, it utilizes a different part of your brain than when you are typing. And when you are
Yes.
typing it, you are tapping more into the logical, rational side of your brain, versus when you're handwriting, you're tapping into the more creative side of your brain. I thought that was like
Yeah.
really fascinating.
It is, and I've heard that too. I've heard that too, but based on my own experiences, because sometimes like a lot of my emails or my social media posts, those I might get an idea and then jot it down really quick, but then I go in and I
Mm.
finish it as I type. And yeah, I used to really, like I would have died on that hill with that theory that it's more powerful coming out, because they do, the head, the heart, and then your arms, and then the pen. But then there's your fingers that are also doing the typing. So then that kind of like, disproves that theory, right? So yeah, I think a lot of times it's more generational, depending how old you are, what age you are, right? I didn't have computers growing up, and I didn't have a typewriter until I was in high school. So, so all my writing, all my doodling, my whole life has just been, pen and paper.
Yeah, that makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. And thank you
And I
for
couldn't
going on
wait to
that.
start.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh no,
Oh,
I was
sorry.
just thanking you for
Oh,
taking
you're welcome.
this from me.
Yeah.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, I couldn't wait to start writing with pen. I remember I was in third grade and we were all still in pencil, and the teacher had to approve your penmanship, and that was your reward to graduate to pen. And I was one of the first. And I was like, I just felt so grown up. Like, I can write with pen now.
That's amazing. Amazing. Oh my gosh. Okay. And I had interrupted you previously when you were going to talk about a second challenge that people might face.
Oh, sure, sure. Oh, it's not an interruption at all. It's a conversation. It's how it goes, right? So thank you for that. Yes, we were saying, so either ones that are struggling to get started, and then the ones that are just looking for some help, just finishing it, right? Finishing it strong. And so what I like to tell my clients, like when we're in the editing process, it's, I'm not here to rewrite what you wrote. I just, and not even all of it, but maybe sometimes there's just like one sentence that just is like, like it could be a little bit more powerful. So I like to call it zhuzhing. We'll take what you wrote and I'll zhuzh it up for you. I'll help you zhuzh it up. So yeah, and
Oh,
that's what we do.
oh, very, very helpful, I must say. Very, very helpful because, oh my gosh, I can't tell you how many times this has happened to me where I've written something out and then I will share it with people that I love and trust for feedback and be like,
Yeah,
hey, what kind of impact is this making on you? How does it make
yeah.
you feel? Et cetera, et cetera. And sometimes they will suggest just the tiniest tweaks, like something as simple as I've had this happen where they're like, instead of saying XYZ, say the XYZ. And just the change from the to the just made the statement so much more powerful and
Oh,
impactful,
yeah. Yes, yes,
It's
yes,
just sometimes
yes.
those tiny tweaks that make a huge difference.
Yes, yes. Oh, I love that. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing I always tell my clients too, or even just prospects that I have calls with, just make sure whoever you end up working with that you do not give away your power, because right, how hard it is to first and foremost claim your voice, to finally have that courage to say, I'm ready to just expose all my vulnerabilities, all my fears, and just it takes a lot of courage, and the last thing you want is someone coming in and diluting it.
That is an excellent point. So like hitting that, probably balance is not the right word, but sort of staying alert that
Yeah,
when you're getting help with the editing, that
yeah.
you still make sure that any suggestions you accept still like leave the writing that is still authentically you.
Yes, I agree. And the thing I'd like to add is that a lot of my clients are international, that their first language is not English. So, there's that aspect of it. So I'm able to see, I don't call myself a developmental editor because that just puts too much pressure on me to be creative, right? But what it is that I'm able to intuitively tap into your energy, your message, and together we extract, like we literally, flesh out what it is that you're wanting to say, and help you say it in the most powerful way. If you need that help, because like I said, the women that come to me, they're ready to go,
Right.
but there's nobody's perfect. There's nobody's perfect, you
Exactly.
know.
And can you tell me a little bit more about who or what a developmental editor is? I've never heard that language before.
Yeah. So basically development, they'll take what you write and expand it. And a lot of times it's the difference between, let's say, somebody in elementary school writing a story and then having someone in high school rewrite that story. Like they add just, goes from one paragraph to a whole page. So, and of
Yes.
course it enhances it, but there's that risk it's almost like a ghostwriter at that point.
Right. That's the word that was
Yeah.
coming to my mind.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yes,
yes,
yes. That
yes,
process I'm more familiar with.
yes, 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 exactly.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so I just learned something from you that number one, there's this thing called developmental editors,
Yes.
but also it says that there are different kinds of editors. So maybe
Different
you need
kinds,
to like
yes.
look at what kind of an editor do you really need.
Yes, yes, exactly. And I highly recommend a basic editor for everyone, for
Mm,
everyone, you know.
yes.
Yeah.
When I was publishing my book, my publisher, I mean, essentially my book is also like self-published in the sense that I have retained the rights to all my content and I keep
Yes.
100% of the
That's
profit
very
of my
important.
book.
Yep.
Yes.
But we do that too.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
And my English is pretty good and so forth, but my editor was like, there are things that you don't even realize where you have made errors in your writing just from a grammar perspective or punctuation perspective, things like that. And
Yes,
so he
yes.
was like, make sure you get at least a basic editor to just like
Exactly.
clean up the
Clean
manuscript,
it
keep
up.
everything
Yes.
consistent. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
very
Zhuzh.
helpful.
Zhuzh.
Yeah, it was very helpful. Very helpful
Yes,
for sure.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool. So is there anything else that you want to share with us right now for people in terms of what else can they do to make publishing their own book more fun and easy?
Hmm. So, my biggest piece of advice, and I really hope everyone, takes it to heart, is if there is a story that you're wanting to memorialize, that you're wanting to make sure that it lives on long after you're gone, just write it for now. Just write it down. Go buy a notebook at the dollar store and just write it down. Don't worry about typing it. Don't worry about making it pretty, and then when you're ready, then you can explore your publishing options. And so the way that we make publishing fun and easy is that we do all the dirty work for you, right? So we get that all taken care of so that, because here's the thing, the women that I work with, they are busy with not only, raising a family, but growing their business as well. Right. So, and I'm sure the beauty and joy of delegating by now, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, focus on exactly, stay in your lane, right, Samia? So why, like that's where a lot of people get tripped up, because especially in the self-publishing, now you have to go learn about all that other stuff with, even just the basic stuff. I'm not even talking about the meta, the metadata, but just the formatting, right? Just finding someone to format your book, or and so we do it for you, but we also do it with you, so you have final approval of everything, the interior formatting, like where you're going to put the page number, along the bottom, along the top, on the side, little things like that, or the size of the book, right? Like, is it going to be a 6x9 or a 5x8, or, and then there's the cover design, and of course we take your idea and we design beautiful full color photos, and again, all to your approval, and we allow you to retain your copyright, because that is the number one mistake that is going to have serious repercussions for forever.
Oh,
Right? Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
Thankfully, I didn't have to learn that lesson the hard way because my
good.
sister did. which was
Oh,
very unfortunate for her.
hmm.
But she worked with a publisher who was like, I don't know what she told my sister, but she made it sound really good that she would have, uh, you know, somehow like basically she ended up with the rights over my sister's content. And,
Yes,
and
yes.
somehow the way that she had talked to my sister about what that meant just sounded really good, and like
Oh,
no perceived problems, no perceived cons. And it was my sister's first time book publishing. I'd never
yeah.
published a book as yet. No one else in my family, had that experience as yet. And oh my gosh, it was
Hmm.
terrible later on. It was terrible later on.
Oh gosh, I'm so sorry that happened. And yeah, I've heard those horror stories. They come to me wanting, to know how I can help. And I said, I can't. My hands are tied. And especially when you're dealing with women that are taking their signature process,
Ah,
their program,
mm,
their whole business, and putting that into a book, they can block you
yeah,
from creating programs and courses, or even,
exactly.
a live stream, a webinar
Yes.
with any of that content in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's exactly the kind of problems my sister
The nightmare.
started to
Yeah.
run into. Oh, so thank you so
Yeah.
much, Jane, for sharing all of this. And I wish I could keep talking with you because I'm learning
I know,
so
me
much and I'm
too.
having so much fun.
Me
Uh,
too. Thank you so much. This was fun.
and yes, we do have to wrap up for today. But you know what? Maybe we'll bring you back and
Oh,
talk some
fun.
more.
Yeah,
That'll
I'm
be
an open
fun.
book. No pun intended. But
I
I would
love
love
it.
to. Thank you. Yes. And everybody watching or listening, go write your story down. Write that story down. And, because if I may, I remember my mom saying, she was trying to remember the story that she used to hear as a kid about, the town in Sicily where they came from. And she's like, she's getting frustrated. She's like, she goes, when I was a kid, I didn't want to hear it. And now that I'm older, there's nobody around for me to ask.
Yes. Oh, that's true. And we have lost so much history and so much wisdom, even
Mm,
if it's like, writing down your mother's or your grandmother's recipes in a
yes.
book. That is so precious because
Mm,
we have lost just in the last 2 years over this pandemic, so many elders in our family. And now we think about, oh, this elder used to make this amazing dish that no one else made like them. And
yes.
sometimes we have a recipe and sometimes we don't. And it's super sad when we don't because like, you just like with the books and we were talking about how we have these memories
Yeah.
of reading the books and what we learn from the books that are so dear to us. Like you retain that memory of food that you have eaten that you really love.
Yeah.
Even if you eat it
Yeah.
years later, you're like, ah, yes, I remember eating this and loving
Yes.
it, you know?
Yes. The traditions, right? Because they're the recipes that you make for the
Yes.
occasions that bring your whole family together. So they're extra special, you know?
Mm.
Yeah.
Or
And
even the everyday recipes. Like my mom
yeah.
makes this most delicious veggie stew. It's not a fancy dish, but it's one of my favorite
Mm.
foods to eat.
Yes, yes. Oh, good. Sounds yummy. You'll have to share that recipe with me. And the second book that I published, Alaska's Wild Gourmet, is actually a memoir told through recipes. So there's a story, and then there's a recipe and a full color photo that goes along with it because she had to have full color and
Yes,
she had to have a photo for every recipe
of
because I
course.
hate when you get a cookbook and they
Yeah.
only have like a couple of photos, like we were saying. It's like, I want to see what it's going to look, because we connect. Like, this is how we
Yeah,
connect with each other
yeah,
visually and through our stories. Content, you want information, like you want the recipe for that, dish. You can Google it, you can find it, but it won't be the same, you
right,
know? And
right.
that's what's the difference. That's how we connect, and we're able to then associate that recipe to a person, and it
Yeah.
lives in your heart. It lives in your heart
Yes.
forever.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And I love the example that you gave of this person who not only gave recipes in the book, but gave the history and the story around. It's so beautiful. This just
Yes.
makes me
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And I love it. And I can't wait. I hope I get to do more of those, because it was a lot. It was so different, it was
yes.
unique, right? So the leadership memoir, and it just took on a different role, because now she does speaking events, and
Mm,
she does cooking uh presentations at her speaking events. So yeah, she's
nice.
in Bali now. Yes, yes, yes.
So
So
amazing.
yes, so it comes from saying yes, right? It just comes from following that desire, that inspiration, and the invitation when it shows up, and just saying yes.
Thank you again, Jane. And
Oh, thank you.
yes, and
Namaste.
oh, thank you so much. And for those of you who are listening or watching this interview, please make sure to click on the links in the show notes. We're going to include Jane's links in there. I'm going to include my links in there in case you want to get in touch with me also. But yeah, please check the links out in the show notes and connect with Jane. If you're even thinking about writing a book, you know she can help you because she helps people who are even just starting out. So please reach out for help and support. And I really hope that you get to write your own book because it's amazing. And yes, until we connect next time, I just wish you lots and lots of peace and joy.